and gentlemen, we have with us none other than Naresh Narasimhan of the Venkatramanan Associates.
There's one new tool called AI, which everybody is obsessed about. It's called, I don't know how many of you have realized, AI also can mean autoimmune problem, which means they don't know, the doctors don't know what's going on, right? So, from a recent quote by Nandan Nilekani, the 3 Ds which will shape India in the next decade are on the screen. But the question really to ask is that, will this next decade is going to be a decade of optimization, or is it going to be a decade of humanization? That's important to understand, right? India, look at India. I mean, every dot, look at the density, and if you notice Uttar Pradesh, I think it should be a separate country, or maybe 2. The amount of people living on the Indo-Gangetic plain compared to the rest of India, each spike there is a population spike. But every dot there is not just a statistic, right? Every dot there is a family, every dot there is a commute, and every dot there is a daily frustration. Is why our cities can't be better, right? And understand that whatever India has built till today, till now, in all of history, we're going to build double that in the next 20 years. That is the scale of, and of course, carbon emission being what it is, we are the largest contributors to carbon issues as a construction industry. So what are we going to do? Typically, India is going to build 9 more Bengalurus, my God, in the next 4 or 5 years, but just before 2030, right? And the amount of people in the cities will almost double. And already we are saying there's too many people. Just imagine what will happen if it's double. The question really is that people think design erases complexity and makes it simple, but we have to understand there is an issue of empathy and grace in our cities, which we need in our cities, right? And we have to, which brings me to the title of this conversation, saying that grace between each other is not computational. It is something which is intuitive, and it has to be empathetic, right? All of you have seen this movie called Minority Report, which is 20 years ago, by the way, where people are waving hands, and now this technology is already starting to come true here. But everything is not, relationships, unfortunately, or fortunately, are emotional, they are irrational. All of us, all married people know this, okay? And also somewhat beautifully inefficient. Everything need not be perfect, right? So that's what we think is the future, but the real future of India is what you see on the screen. Like what is going on right now is that they're messy, they're contradictory, and full of tension. Our job as designers is to design some dignity for everyone, in an inclusive way, right? The cities we live in are composed largely of 4 components. There's an ecological component, there is a physical component, which is mobility, there is a social component, which is markets and friends and family, and there's also a historical and nostalgic component, which is fast getting erased. A lot of our cities are not paying any attention to heritage, right? So we have to start looking at it as what is the city we want to live in, where we have to reframe ecology not as a want to have or a wish to have, but as an essential piece of infrastructure. And physical infrastructure is not rushing from one place to another, but it also connects people and places. Social systems are the city's most powerful network, not broadband, the network between each other. And memory must be used as a planning tool, not as something which is just nostalgia, right? So I want to, with this background, I want to explain that we think of a street or a road as something to go through, and we have lost the ability to linger and to, how do you come up with a street that you want to go to and not through, right? And this is a street in Bangalore, I think Kavya mentioned it already, in the heart of the city. So about 8 years ago, the government asked me to, unusual street, in the heart of Bangalore, this is what it used to look like 8 years ago. If I could make you smell it, all of you will run from this room because all the sewage is also broken and stinking. disorganized parking. This could be a street anywhere in India. Curiously, this street has about 70 bars and restaurants and discharging, and it is the #1 street. We're all used to going to malls, but this street is the biggest open-air mall, particularly for the demographic between 15 years and 25 years of age in Bangalore. And every day is like a fashion parade there, right? So, look at it. This is standard India. And why do we accept that? And we then have super fancy building right behind this wall. And then we dug this street just to, we barely know in India what is above the ground in terms of maps. But there is one Patal Bhairavi, one demon, the real Vastu demon is sitting below the street. Can you imagine those are all, every single infrastructure is just 9 inches, 1 foot and laid like this. And you can see that 22 kilovolt line that is there, the electric line, is 6 inches below the road. And by mistake, if you step on it or something goes wrong, you don't need to be cremated. You will vanish in a puff of smoke. No? There's no need of cremation. And you also see that the blue line is the information superhighway. And below that, if you can see, there's also sewage flowing. This is how Indian cities look below the ground. No wonder on top is a disaster. We are now making all this information public. We don't want to. We do all this work as VA, as a pro bono initiative of the MOD Foundation. Right? So the lesson to understand is cities and technology both run on critical systems which are usually invisible to the user. I think the job of designers is to get involved in public infrastructure and show what's possible. Right? So the question then comes, who is a designer? Is it just people who work for very rich clients or institutions, or is it somebody who works also for the city? I think the new designer is not just a tool operator. It's somebody who translates between machines, people, bureaucracy, and makes sure that the end outcome is human.